Hey, what's up guys? This is Nightwing2303 from WearTesters.com, and today we have the performance review on the Nike Hyperchase. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so the first version of these shoes that I played in was this guy right here. This is the All-Star colorway, and the traction on these sucked like really bad, just plain awful. But I grabbed another colorway, which I can't remember what these are. It's this funky looking pattern, and basically these have these solid rubber outsoles, and these things work like way better. So what they feature here are just a bunch of little, like, they look like almost like nuts or screws, or nuts that you would put on screws. And basically it's multi-direction patterns, so since it's so dirty you can actually see where the lines are going for front to back or linear movements, and then where they switch up for lateral movements, and then you can see that they go in all kinds of different directions. It's an interesting pattern. It works well with this particular setup. You do need to wipe somewhat, but I don't hate it. I don't know if you can see this very well, but it's already grinding down on the exterior section of the shoe, and that was just from a one-time use outdoors. If you use this regularly outdoors, they're probably going to wear down pretty quickly. But other than that, indoors they work pretty well. You know, no huge complaints, wiping periodically, nothing too spectacular. The only thing negative that I'll say is that everything is very slender, so it like conforms to your foot like crazy. There's no real outrigger or anything like that. And so certain movements, you just have to make sure that your feet or your footwork are planted properly. Certain sections, if you go to push off like from your toe, sometimes you'll catch right around this edge. Normally with a wider base shoe, that wouldn't be a problem. It would still catch the rubber, you'd push off just fine. But with these, it's rounded. It's almost wrapping directly around your foot right here, so you'll get some slippage on those things. Now, I definitely would not give these starting 5 traction, but they definitely get the job done, especially with the rubber outsole. I would not recommend using the clear rubber though. It just was not good on court at all, in my opinion, or experience at least. Now for the cushion, we have another drop-in midsole, so without it, the shoe is completely hollow. And what they did was they used a polyurethane drop-in midsole. This is a lot heavier than the Lunar stuff. It's a little bit more dense, but the bright side of that is that it will last you a lot longer. Lunar Lawn tends to bottom out or get compressed very quickly. This is just a little bit more durable than that, so if you're looking for something long-term, this is a better option in my opinion. But Lunar is definitely on the more plush side, and because these are interchangeable, you could take the Lunar inserts from your past Kobe's or maybe the Mentality and then put them in this shoe, no problem. I would not put the LeBron midsole in just because it's from the LeBron 11 is a little bit thicker, and so it makes your heel pop up just enough to where the lockdown gets affected. Now as far as how they feel, they get better pretty much every time you wear them. When you first put them on, very lackluster, you almost don't feel anything, but once you start moving you can feel it compress a little bit, and because it is polyurethane, it bounces back a lot better than Lunar does. Just like the traction, wouldn't give these a starting 5 either, but they definitely get the job done. So it's not a bad setup whatsoever. I actually did enjoy playing in these the more that I played in them, and for the price it's definitely not bad. And like I said, you can interchange them, which is a huge plus. Now the materials I absolutely love. It's very similar to the HyperRev 2015. Probably use this colorway a little bit better. It'll show the materials versus that weird colorway. But basically what they did was they used this micro mesh along the upper. There's some minor fuse underlays for structure, and then they have some fuse overlays for structure and support. Now the reason why I like this micro mesh, it's flexible, it's breathable, fairly durable, and with the fuse overlays, it's durable enough in those high wear areas to where it doesn't become a problem. There is dynamic flywire right here in the forefoot, and I believe that this worked well. It reminded me a lot of the HyperRev. Because the upper is so minimal, you definitely feel each of these strands or cables kind of pulling on your foot. I will say though, when I played in them outside, I don't know what it was. I think it was the heat and maybe my feet expanding, but these did bother me a little bit on the tops of my toes. I could literally feel them like kind of like tugging and things like that. So that was one thing that I did not like. But other than that, I literally had no complaints. I really like this type of setup. It's great for guards. If you're looking for something lightweight but not too flimsy, then this is definitely a good option. Now as far as the fit, I went true to size, but they do run a little bit snug in my opinion. Not just width-wise, but also length-wise. They just kind of run weird, a little bit short almost. So if you wanted to play it safe, I'd say go true to size. However, this is a shoe that you're gonna want to go try on. They're at House of Hoops, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Just to make sure, like I said, they're a little bit on the narrow or snug side, and they're a little short, so it's like a weird kind of situation. As far as lockdown is concerned, the heel is fine. As you can see, you have the midsole that kind of wraps up around for your heel counter, and it keeps everything from shifting side to side just perfectly. However, the lockdown on the upper area wasn't as good as the heel. I'm not sure if it was in this weird kind of lacing system or all of that combined with the super low cut. I'm not really sure what it was, but on certain movements I could feel the material is just kind of loosening up and buckling. It's just a weird feeling. Not something that I enjoy. It didn't feel 100% secure or locked down at all times like I typically like. Now, as far as the support is concerned, like I mentioned before, the support along the upper, especially on the lateral sections right here, are a little bit on the weak side, but then the rest of the shoe overall isn't like the greatest in support either. There's no torsional shank, which isn't typically needed with this kind of setup, the flat bottom and then the molded insert, because it has pretty much everything that you need built into it already. And then you had the heel counter, which is great, but the shoe's very slender and form-fitting to your foot. It's literally like the shape of your foot. And a lot of the other shoes that I've been playing in have been just wider, just slightly, enough to where when you wear something thinner or more conforming such as this, if you don't have great footwork, you're gonna kind of like roll your ankle and things like that just based off of sloppiness. Not a horrible roll to where you're gonna sprain your ankle, but it's gonna be enough to where it starts to get annoying until you start fixing your footwork. So when you're moving, make sure that a lot of your weight is right here. Don't try to put any weight on the outside edges of the shoe. You're gonna teeter over, you're gonna slip, and things like that. So again, not the best in overall support, but it's decent. So overall, these are a budget-friendly model that happens to look really cool, at least in my opinion. Definitely not something that I would consider a go-to shoe, but something that I wouldn't mind playing in every once in a while. Again, I did actually like them the more that I did play in them, but it's, again, not something that I would like specifically choose like, hey, that's gonna be my shoe for the year. If you think about it, you can actually buy these along with the KB Mentality for about $200. This is just from retail price alone, not sale prices. You can interchange their cushions with the polyurethane and the lunar inserts, and it'll cost you less than one pair of LeBron 12s, and it'll cost you just barely over the retail price of a Kobe 10. If you alternate between the two shoes, along with the two midsoles, it'll last you quite a while, and you'll have some decent on-court options that'll last you pretty much throughout the year, which is a great bang for your buck option, buying the two together. That way you can kind of go back and forth between the two. Now at this point, pretty much mid-April, I'd say that Nike's lower budget models are actually somewhat better options than their higher end stuff. Even considering like the lack of support in these things, they're definitely doable. They get the job done, and they only cost $100. So if you're not trying to break the bank and you're looking for a solid hoop shoe, some of their lower budget models are definitely something to consider. But if you're only looking for signatures and things like that, then obviously you're going to want something else, unless you consider these Harden's actual shoe, which is perfectly valid if you do. So that pretty much takes care of it. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for your support. Thanks for being patient as well. I did not like these whatsoever on court, but I definitely like this pair. So I'm glad that I waited and grabbed one with a solid option. And that'll pretty much take care of it. If you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, I'll see you guys on the next one.